Before Jesus spent 40 days reflecting on his life, struggling with the temptation of power and prestige, money, he was baptized in the Jordan by John the Baptist. And Jesus goes to the Jordan, John's baptizing, and people are flocking to John, and he's washing away their sins with the water of the Jordan. And Jesus goes to John and says, "Baptize me." And John says, "Well, no, that's not really how it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to baptize you. I'm not even good enough to tie the thong of your sandal." And Jesus says, "No, that's not how the story goes. This is how the story goes. You baptize me." And John baptizes Jesus in the Jordan. Jesus comes up out of the water, and the skies open up, and a dove descends, and Jesus hears the voice of God who says, "This is my Son, with whom I am well pleased. This is my beloved." Jesus hadn't even really done anything yet. Maybe he'd spent the past 25 years of his 30 years on the planet living, learning, playing, eating, sleeping, hanging out with his family. Maybe he got to be 20 and started struggling with this call from God. Maybe he heard that voice that can be relentless and go after you and say, "I have work for you. I have work for you." And maybe Jesus fought it and didn't really want to believe he was being called by God to ministry. And finally, Jesus shows up at the Jordan for this moment of revelation and hears, "This is my beloved, with whom I am well pleased." And I struggle with this idea that I have to get good for God, or I have to accomplish something, or I have to be something that I'm not, and who I am in and of myself is not good enough. And somehow I think, really? But it was good enough for Jesus. He hadn't done anything yet, and yet with him, God was well pleased, and God was in love with him. So I like to think that God is well pleased with me, and God is in love with me too.